Okay, so in this video we'll be doing the add-on instruction. We'll be basically making an add-on instruction and showing how to use it. So first off, you are unable to make an add-on instruction while you're online. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our system offline. We're going to right click down here where it says add-on instruction. So in your basically in your controller scheme over here, your controller organizer, your add-on instruction, click new. And we'll be just showing a general setup, so maybe a conveyor setup. We'll call this conveyor. Let's just call it conveyor AOI. That'd be fine. Okay, so this is the first revision, major revision, no minor revisions, standard text, vendor. You can put in who you made it, who made it. We'll put online PLC support, and at this point, we'll put made for training event 2017. I did typed 18 like it's already needs to be done. Okay, so that's just your stuff you can put in. So we'll click OK. At this point, this brings you up to your first point where you can go ahead and add your parameters, your local tags, basically your signatures, and we'll go through all that. So first and foremost, what we want to do in the parameter section is we want to set all the tags that will be passed out of, and maybe so going in to the instruction and going out of the instruction. So what we're going to have on this instance is we'll have like a start push button, and then we're going to have that as a of course it's going to be an input, right? So you can select what you want. This is going to be an input parameter, and we're going to have this as a bool, right? And so let's expand this a little bit more. So we want to have this as a required and visible. Okay, so at this point we're going to have a stop PB. So we're going to have that in as a bool as well, and we want to make that again a required section and visible. So in this next section we're going to have an e-stop button, and again this will be a bool, so basically on-off bit, right? And then we're going to have the output be like conveyor run. So at that point we're going to have this be the output parameter, and we're also going to have this as a bool. Okay, so it's pretty much self-explanatory as far as that goes. What start push button, a stop push button, the e-stop scenario, and then the out would be the conveyor being able to run. Now this brings me to my next section. We'll hit apply right there. This brings me to my next section where we'll have local tags. Now in local tags we'll have like some different tags. Let's just go over local tags real quick. Local tags are tags that will not be going in or out of the instruction. Therefore, they'll be just used inside of the logic, and they will not be able to be accessed or influenced by an incoming bit, via the instruction. Rather than, it will be influenced by the code inside of the instruction. And this will make more sense once we get it made. So we'll put conveyor OK to run, And we'll type this back. Let's just make that one work. Okay, so this will be a bool, and then we'll put a delay to run, and this is going to be a timer. So what we'll do is we'll put that in there. Okay, so now we'll hit apply. So we have our tags in here now. So we have our OK to run, we have our delay to run, and then we have our tags that we put in for the parameters. At this point, you know, we can come in and generate a signature if we wanted to. Excuse me. And you can look at change history and that stuff of that nature too as well. Now we come to the point where we can actually program. So we have the AOI made, and we'll open the logic. Okay, so we don't have any programming in here, right? So as far as that goes, you know, being able to so add the so a open definition that shows you everything you have, and then if you go to properties, at this point you want to be able to see. Let's close this out. Let's remove the signature right now. Okay, so that's what happened. I locked the signature, so make sure that you do not lock the signature until you're finished with the ladder logic. Okay, so alright, so let's go ahead and add a few rungs here to do our scenario. Okay, so inside of our code, we basically want to have you know, our code that the influence, the code that's going to actually run the system, right? So what we want to have to begin with is we want to come back and have the let's see, the stop button should be like maintained and associated to the e-stop. So let's go to tags, and then we'll come, and you're able to select from your tags, right? So the e-stop button will have our stop button, and we can have these as just, let's do it like this, like a fail-safe scenario. And then we'll come in and put the timer inside here. So the only timer that we have, right? And then we'll fill the data out for that. So let's just say 2 seconds for that. And then we'll throw around that. We'll come in and put the, basically it's just saying if the timer is finished right here, that we will go ahead and allow the ready to run. So conveyor system OK to run, and we come back and put that as a different scenario as later if we want. So if the ready to run is there and the start button is pressed, right? So we want to say that if the start button is pressed, then we are able to run the conveyor. So let's do that. Let's say run conveyor. So let's get out of that. This is pretty simple. So basically we're saying that if the stop button or the e-stop is not pressed, the stop button is not pressed, then the system can run. as long as the timer has timed out and it's okay to run based upon the start button being pressed. Now once the start button is pressed, then we can go ahead and run this scenario. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and see exactly how this thing works. So now at this point, we come in and we can generate a signature, and this locks the code out so you can't do anything with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and download, and what we'll do is we'll go ahead and use this instruction. I'll show you, and I'm going to come back and edit it after we use it. So I'm going to show you a couple different scenarios, but in the general standpoint of what we just built, I want to keep it really kind of cut and dry, very simple, because add-on instructions do not have to be very complex at all. So okay, so what we'll do is we'll come into our ladder logic, we'll add a add a new routine, and we'll call this AOI example, and we will put that in there, and then what we're going to do is go into the main again. We're going to make our JSR like we have been, right? So we want to tie everything together, hit accept. So now we have an active situation. So now your AOI that you made down here will be in, if you look up in your tab up here, you have add-on. It will be right here. So let's go ahead and throw that in there. And then you still have to name it, right? So you have to name the system. You can say Conveyor. Let's see. Let's call this Conveyor 1. And then we'll keep this again. This AOI is going to be in this routine that we have, or it's going to be in the same task. So we don't want to keep it as a controller scope. We want to keep it in the same routine that we currently are, the same task that we're in. And at this point, we're not going to share it or anything of that nature. So say this is just going to be a system that's going to be run at that point. So what we can do at this point is go ahead and fill everything out. So what I'd like to kind of point out at this point is I'd like to go ahead and open this. Okay, so now you see the selections that you can see. So if you did want to see certain things, you have to obviously change it down here. We have our tags, we have our setup. Basically, you can put descriptors in here if you wanted to, and we probably will come back and do that. So just to know that when you hit start button, stop button, e-stop, and then we'll have the conveyor run. So in that instance, what we need to do is we need to go ahead and alias a couple bits, right? So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and make well, let's make the general e-stop. So system e-stop PV, and then we'll alias this to basically one of our local down here, one of our local input cards, and we'll alias this to 0. Okay, so if the e-stop is not hit, then the conveyor system will have a run. So we'll call this conveyor 1 stop PV. And what we'll do is we'll make this an alias as well, and come down here to select the right input. Of course, we're just selecting inputs right now. We're not actually wiring this stuff up or anything like that. this will be the conveyor 1 start. We'll alias this, come down and select an input. So basically showing you that you should be referencing a natural input from an input card, but aliasing it to a tag so that you can see exactly what the tag is. So then at this point we'll have conveyor, spell that right, conveyor 1 running. And then we'll alias that out to an output. So an output that we haven't used yet in the program. So let's just call this output 3. Okay, so right now the whole the scenario is it's actually running. It's actually able to run. So what we'll do is we'll just come down here and throw a dummy row, and I'll go ahead and add a no operation. So a no operation bit, and then what I'll come down here and do is throw in the different bits to show you how this system would work. So tie in this bit, and this is just for informational purposes only, and it basically makes it easier for me to toggle it. So and I'll also show the conveyor running bit. Okay, so this has absolutely no purpose whatsoever. Okay, so with this said, let's go ahead and look at the instruction. So let's open the instruction logic. At this point our timer is done when I put TT right here. So let's do this. Let's go offline. So see, already I'm having to fix it. So it happens. So let's go ahead. Signature, remove signature. Come down here, edit it. Okay, so we want the done bit. Okay, so come down here, add the signature back, and we'll download. And the reason we have to do that because you cannot edit a add-on instruction online. So verify that you do have a working instruction and that it is sound before you do any kind of mass production or anything like that. Generally speaking, you want to make sure that it is a sound piece of code. But we all make mistakes, so just do your testing with it, right? Okay, so this is the base scenario right here. So I have it open. In the one instance that I have open, if you have many instances of this running, you can actually pop down this drop and drop it down and select which one you want to look at. Okay, so in our instance we have, let's look at our logic. We do not have the start button, we do not have the stop button pressed, or the e-stop. I have the e-stop twice. Okay, so let's do this. We do not have the e-stop, and we don't have a conveyor running. So if I hit the start button, if you looked at our logic right now, which again I can click right here, go to instruction logic. If I hit the start button, it's going to start running. So let's do that. So okay, now with it started, again let's look at our logic. It's running, correct? Okay, so if I happen to toggle one of these off, right, so I can't do it from here, right, then that shows you that right here, say for instance if I hit the stop button, it stops running. Now let's look at the logic. Okay, so the thing that's blocking us is our stop button, right? So as soon as the stop button's not pressed and the e-stop's not pressed for 2 seconds, then it will come down here and run the conveyor. Alright, so let's go back up here. Okay, so it automatically came on because the start button was pressed. Now, if everything's good and I drop this, I don't have the stop or the e-stop, then I can be able to run. Okay, so pretty simple, cut and dry. Not very complex at all. The good thing about this is I can do multiple conveyors and have them start up at different times. So what I did want to show is, like, for instance, if I want to have another instruction and I want to come down and say conveyor 2. So let's do that. Let's go to conveyor 2. Okay, so in this instance, we want to use the same e-stop. Let's just say we want to use the conveyor start and stop was the same, right? So let's just say the start was the same because it's a system, right? It's a conveyor system. Say the start stop was the same, and let's say that the of course we want to use a different output, right? Conveyor 2 run bit. Okay, so we want to alias this, and want to come down here and throw in an alias. Okay, so and I'll show you this too. Just throw another bit in here. Oh. And then no operations to show conveyor 2 running. Okay, so let's go ahead and assemble that. Now what we can do is we can go to this logic and say this will be 2 seconds, and let's call the second instance of this 6 seconds, right? So if we went to the logic and we hit a start button, right now they're both going to run. Now if we hit a stop button and then we come back, then that one will come on and then this one will come on later. Right, so say this was the beginning one in the line and this was the second one, and we wanted a gap in the start condition. That's something that we could do, right? So, but that shows you how versatile that is. How modulus the system can be. System e-stop was pressed, can't do anything, and then now they'll both run based upon different times. Even though the default time, let's open this up. The default time in the instruction that we set is 2 milliseconds, or 2,000. So basically almost, or 2 seconds, I should say, I'm sorry. And then we come down here on conveyor 1, it's 2 seconds. On conveyor 2, it's 6 seconds. Now let's save this. Okay. Let's say we want to change the way that works. Okay, so let's go back down here, go offline, and we want to go in and delete our signature again, right? And we want to open up the logic. Okay, so what I want to show right here is, let's do this. Let's say if the e-stop and that's good, that we want the conveyor run to be good. And if, let's add another rung, and we'll move this down here. And let's say that this is the timer, right? And that when the timer down here is done, so let's go delete. So we'll say that if the e-stop and the push button is good, and the stop push button is good, then it's okay to run. When the start push button is pressed, based upon 2 seconds or whatever the seconds may be, that it will start running the conveyor. And what we can do on that aspect is, let's do this. We can save this, and let's go ahead and populate the signature. Okay, so it's locked again, and let's download it. You don't have to lock it. That's just something I do. But it shows you something you will run into if you try to edit one that somebody else made. So just know you have to blow away the signature that they made of that instruction. So make sure you don't delete any kind of signature of anything, like a safety signature or nothing. This is just a code signature. It's not. Don't get too confused. Okay, so conveyor 1 has 2 seconds. Conveyor 2 has 6 seconds still. Okay, so now this is going to operate slightly different, right? So let's go in here and let's say the start button is not pressed. And let's start the start button. Now this is going to come on, and this will come on in 6 seconds. Right, so if you looked at that, in the way that the hierarchy of the way things run, you could stagger the whole system. So let's do this. Let's add another one, and we'll call this Conveyor 3, right? And same stop, same start, same stop, and then in a different output, right? Conveyor 3 run bit, and make sure you spell it correctly. Okay, so again, alias and a true real world output, right? Call that bit 5. Okay, so that's good. We'll come down here and throw in our conveyor 3 run bit. Right? Now, what I want to show is, like, say you had a default system conveyor on, right? So let's do this. Let's stagger the whole system. So what if what if conveyor 3 is the first one in line, like the downstream one, right? But we had like conveyor running, or we had product on the conveyor or something. So let's say that we want this one at 2 seconds. We want this one at, let's call this 4 seconds. So we want a break in the product, right? And let's do this. Let's call this one 6 seconds. So, okay, so now we'll come down and we'll hit the start button. 3 will come on, 2 will come on, and then 1 will come on. Now, that would stagger the product and stop it from jamming against each other, right? So it's pretty modulus, it's pretty easy to run. And that shows basically a good scenario of how things would work. Okay, so let's stop all of them because the stop button was pressed. And obviously if the stop button was pressed, then we don't want the start button. Okay, so now we hit the start button again. Then we have that one, this one, this one. So staggered between the 2 second separation. Let's save that. And let's come in and say, let's go offline. And let's make this a, let's blow away the signature. Okay. Blow away the signature. Remove. And now we can edit it, right? Okay, so let's make this a latch bit. And then an unlatch bit. And then we could say something of this nature, say if this was just like started. Okay, so let's do this. Let's throw in this bit right here. So let's go like this and say if this was pressed, it should do that. Right? So this would start the conveyor. If this was like just pressed, like normally pressed it, you didn't have to hold it, and then this would stay on, and then this would, you know, obviously pop on. This would latch it, and then what we could do is conveyor stop. We can just say, well, I'll tell you what, let's do this. Let's come back and say this. Let's do that. Okay. And we want to take this out. So we'll have the, if as long as the E-stop's not pressed, it's okay to run the conveyor. And then when we hit the start button, we're going to basically just kind of like an operator would. They would just barely tap it and it would latch in. And then it would start running based upon that, right? And then once it started running, it would latch in, and then it would run until we hit the stop button. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a signature. Let's download. So hopefully this has given you several different scenarios of what you can do, and just, you know, how you can, you know, just change the program and make it work for you. Also with, and we'll go through and break down the inputs and outputs again. Okay, so let's go and start our conveyor system. Okay, so the start button is pressed. Okay, so now it's going to run. Let's hit the stop button. Alright, so remember how the logic works, right? If the E-stop is not made, then it's able to run. Now, okay, so let's show that. If I hit the start button right now, the conveyor system will not run. Alright, so let's look at that. Right? Can't run because obviously the E-stop is pressed. Okay, so let's do this. And now let's go ahead and just basically toggle this off and on. So these are all three going to stagger. So just like an operator, just hit it, and then it's not going to stop until we actually hit the stop button, right? So let's do that again. This is basically kind of like an operator, just hit the button and then took the hand off of it. These are going to stagger back on, and life is good again, right? So in the natural process of how this works, you know, this is basically how you would see it. And this makes it modular so that if you have like 20 conveyors, you can go ahead and pop the same thing in for all 20 of them and really program it really quick. I mean, you've seen how quick this was, just making this, editing it, come back and throwing the 3 conveyors in. I mean, it wasn't very complicated at all. Now, let's break down the instruction definition. So we have our input to our instruction, the start button, an input to our instruction, which is the stop button, a E-stop button is an input, and the conveyor run is an output. These are all instructions that are all elements that go into the instruction to make them work. Now, let's also take in consideration that they are visible, right? So they're required and they're visible. Now let's go to local. These are elements, these are tags that we made that are just used in the logic right here, right? They're not actually used, they're not used at all to go drive something like a bit into it or a drive out, right? So they're basically used internally and influenced by the inputs, you know, inputs and outputs, but they're not actually they're influenced basically because of the logic, right? Because of the logic, what's going on over here. So the inputs and the outputs, right? That's basically how you break down the parameters and stuff of when you set stuff. So if you wanted to look at, it's easy to do this. The parameters are the inputs and outputs that you want to use, and you can choose whether you want to see them or not see them. It's completely up to you. Then the local tags are the tags that are just going to be used inside the logic of that instruction. So not to be used outside or inside, or not to be used outside or incoming. Alright, the scans and stuff like that, scan modes, of course you've seen the signature change history. It shows when it was changed, the last time it was changed, and the help file. You can put a description of the help file, as you want it. Basically right now it's got several different instances. In this add-on instruction, I could use it in 3 different elements. I can use it in the ladder logics form that we have. I can use it in the function block, which I'm going to keep it and show you in the function block programming. And we can use it in the structure text as well. So it shows you how to use it. So it makes our own, and see our revisions down here, it makes our own information about that. So as far as that goes, you can throw in whatever you want to as far as extended description, text and stuff of that nature. But this kind of helps the end user see exactly what's going on. I think that's just about it as far as add-on instructions, besides the fact of you can export them. So now let's do this. Let's say export add-on instruction. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the second program that we had, like processor 2. So I clicked export. It does take it a minute to export. Make sure you go, easiest point for me is to go to the desktop. In the desktop, let's go to our second processor, and let's go to add-on instruction, and let's click, okay, let's go offline, because you can't import it. You cannot import an add-on instruction until you're so add new. So we would want to just add this in here. I'm not sure why it's not letting me right now. Maybe go online. Yeah, so I'm not able to do anything of that nature right there. Yeah, it's kind of funny, because in the older versions I would be able to import it right there and have it. For some reason it's not allowing me to do that. So see, data type, user defined, import. We did that. We're able to do everything. Import string. We're not able to import. So I'd have to look at the knowledge base. It could be something in the revision that I'm using, 28. But nevertheless, it's good to have. It's good to have that backup file. So it's good to have. You'll see prodcons that we made. You'll see the add-on AOI that we made, and of course how to use that AOI. So okay, so this kind of concludes the add-on instruction. Hopefully this clarified a lot of issues as far as looking at building one, maybe troubleshooting one, understanding the parameters inside the add-on instruction. Making sure you understand the input parameters, the output parameters, and anything of thereof, what parameters do, and then what local tags do. So local tags, of course, are just inside the program, just inside the instruction that you're making. to the AOP, or the AOI, sorry. So they're just used inside the AOI. They're not external, they're not going into the AOI. So these are parameters like inputs and outputs, right? Just like you see here, inputs and outputs, and you don't see anything else. So, alright, so hopefully that cleared up a lot of questions around making an add-on instruction and how to do it. And feel free to try this exercise, you know, a couple different times by yourself to kind of get more fluent with it. Again, this down here was just a controls, if you would. So just like for use. So down here I'll put, you know, for training use only. This has absolutely no bearing on the rest of the logic, besides I can start it from here. You know, so it's basically like having a console or something. So hopefully that cleared up a lot, gave you a better understanding about how to use add-on instructions, how to make an add-on instruction, and what parameters are and what local tags are. And of course, we'll be probably using this very add-on instruction in the function block, just to show an illustration of it being used in a different language. So there's 4 languages that we are programming languages that Rockwell has, and we'll be doing all 4. So to kind of end this video, I guess we'll kind of leave ladder logic done. Maybe come back and add some more stuff if you guys email me, but this is going to conclude the add-on, or the add-on instruction for the ladder logic. And again, hopefully you got some added value out of it. Okay, so again, appreciate your time, and we'll continue on.